Good night, and welcome to Mindful Live 504. I'm your host, Nathan Springer. It is 10:13, a late start as normal these days, in the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. It is presently the 18th of the month of June in the year of our Lord 2025. 25 years ago was the change of the millennium. If you remember, if you were conscious for Y2K, your knees might have a little problem. You may need to do a few more stretches before you run out in that sweat. If you remember Y2K, I am here to inform you, you are no longer a young person. When they speak about the young people and the youth, you are no longer classified in that crew. You aren't the youth they speak of. If you remember Y2K, 25 years ago, my whole time flies, 2025. Once you're on the inside, make sure you hit that like button, double tap the screen out there on Instagram. That's how you hit the like button out there. If you're viewing this on YouTube, please do hit the like button there too. It really does help with the algorithm and all that good stuff. Share it to all the people you know. Tell your nenen and them, you know, they like news. Tell them, listen, this is a new way we do news here. It's not just TV6 and CNC3 and those others. Come, let's discuss. Let's discuss. And you could keep liking out on Instagram. It's not one like. You could pile those likes up, really get, you know, stretch the fingers. Make sure that if you're a typist or one of those people, make sure you aren't getting those what you call that? Carpal tunnel. Is carpal tunnel you call that business? Get those likes flowing. And let's see if we could jump into some news out there. We have a new commissioner, people. What are we looking at today in the news? A new commissioner. And he's telling people, watch your children out there. They're not on games anymore. The girls are suspended from the Cuba brawl. Homeland Security Minister said he don't really care for the cameras. He wanted bulletproof vests instead. We'll see if he has a point. They're looking to bring in Brazilian coconuts for those of us in the agricultural sector. Some Brazilian hybrid nuts could be on the market just now. I don't think that's a bad idea. Coconut farming is not a bad thing for Trinidad and Tobago farming in general. Then we get into the politics a bit more. They're looking to cut out Stewie from the pension. Kobo Sweat doesn't deserve a pension. You know, I could probably I feel I could start a short video, because that just it has a ring off your tongue. Kobo Sweat do deserve a pension. That could be the name of that video. Poor Stewie. I'm unsure though. I mean, I don't know, but many people's accusations were that the man came from money and they were looking just kind of to get some power in there now. So if it is that money was never much of a problem for him, I'm not sure if he's too worried about the pension being cut. But then again, many people with money live by the mantra that enough money isn't enough money. You know, the Fed's listening. And what money? A quote by renowned philosopher Wheezy F. And the F stands for whatever he wants it to stand for in the moment. Yeah, and there's a case into a former government minister and some contractors apparently loyal. Yeah, by Paul Duncan, and some contractors apparently loyal to the UNC. There's a case ongoing since the PNM days, but with the change of government, the case now depends on a board that would be hired by the UNC. I wonder how that case is going to fare. Yeah, and they're doing childhood care in UE. We're going to look at some early childhood care programs that they're setting up in UE and some ideas that the First World has about this, and if this is the solution to some of the problems we are seeing currently in the world, or if this just further exacerbates that problem. And people, don't meet nobody, you meet on Instagram. We'll touch on some of those. Apparently, it's not just the men who go to sketchy setups from Instagram. I believe I was reading today that they held 2 men for some of those grinder robberies in East Port of Spain. But apparently it's not only the grinder users and the car sales enthusiasts who find themselves in unwise places from the internet. So let's jump into some of that news. As I said, hit that like button, share the video to everyone. You know, everybody get a share. Everybody tell them, hey, this is good stuff. Go and listen to this. Take it in. Make sure you subscribe to Nathan Spring out there on YouTube. If you ever miss any of the lives, they are there for you to catch on repeat. If you ever miss them, hey host, where you come out from? No, don't answer that. Say good night, people.
Good night, people.
Hey. Let's see if we can jump into some news. All right. Control your children. Cop gives warning to parents. New Commissioner of Police Alistair Guevara has issued a strong caution to parents, calling on them to take greater responsibility for their children and warning that under his leadership, school violence and youth delinquency will not be tolerated. In an unscripted speech at the change of command ceremony for the police commissioner at the Police Academy in St. James, Guevara said he was moved to speak directly to families after reading a newspaper article about a father who joined the police service to set a positive example for his son. And listen, I just, of note, I find Commissioner Guevara doesn't necessarily seem to be cut from the same cloth as some of the other commissioners we got out of the police service. He seems to be a bit sharper. I'm just saying from, you know, I'm going to say this. It is going to sound insulting, but I don't necessarily mean an insult by it, but it's the best way to describe exactly what I mean. He seems like he reads higher than the standard 4 level. And unfortunately for a while, some of our commissioners... Alright. Now going on with this news, it is time that the police service and the officers who are members of this auspicious and esteemed body return to being role models of society, he said. It is about time we return to being superheroes. And I agree. I think it would be a key part of rebuilding the TTPS if you could put police back into that position where young boys want to be police when they grow up, where it's something that has adulation from the general society. I don't think police retain that position that they once did. They aren't superheroes anymore. They aren't the role models of society anymore. That's not how people see police anymore. And I speak about that regularly. And I think police service being something that has such a strict disciplinary structure, I think this is something that could be solved. I think personally, this as a police culture needs to be cut. There's a reason these services shaved your head and shaved your beard and that kind of stuff when you join. removing whatever your separate social identity might be and repositioning you in the society now as identifying with this group. I don't think we were supposed to have Zessa police. I saw someone wrote a letter to the minister and to the prime minister, etc., in regards to the soldier who had women fighting in his house, apparently. And then he released a video kinda not backing down from that kind of behavior. And he was in his uniform while speaking on it. And I think the criticisms of him are correct. I don't think these are things that should represent our security services. I don't think these are things that should be representative of our security services. I think any police officer posting a profile picture with his service firearm in a showy manner should be reprimanded. There should be no pictures of police and their service firearms stunting. How do you mean you're stunting with a firearm as a police officer? I am so strict. I find if I was the supreme leader, we having a code of conduct in the police as such that you can't wear a gold chain thicker than 3 centimeters. I put in that in the police code of conduct. That thick gold chain business done. Black tint vehicle done. What the commissioner is talking about there is a cultural problem in the police. A cultural problem that you have to make cultural changes to change. It is time that the police service and the officers who are members of this auspicious esteemed body return to being role models of society. It's about time we return to being superheroes. Well, you have to act it. And I think you have to enforce it. Kill this as a police culture. Kill it dead. That shouldn't be the image of the police service. Simple like that. Guevara, who officially takes command of the TTPS today, said the future of the nation hinges not only on policing strategies, but on parenting. The future of our nation does not rest in your child's school bag, but in your hand, he told the audience. You are the parents because you need to take control of your children. He recalled incidents of school violence in recent months and made it clear that this issue would be a priority for him as commissioner. Is it cultural for the police to not be able to reach you? So that embarrassing display in, you read that embarrassing display in, to not be able, well, Mikhail Modesto, you came just after I was discussing something about that, where our older police seem to have been cut out of a certain kind of cloth. And for his credit, it seems like the new commissioner isn't exactly of that same mold. Over the last couple of months, I've been seeing several acts of violence engaging media attention about school violence and bullying. Under my watch, that will never happen, he said. I want to make you a promise here today. If you cannot control your children, we will contain them. I like it, Mr. Commissioner. Talk is cheap, they say, but at least this talk, I'll buy it for now. I'll buy it at the cheap price. Because this is my view. I have said this over and over and over again. If you know I hate when people come and speak like all the social problems are, all the issues and crimes in society can be solved at the social side, The problem with these children is parenting. The parents need to take up their role. And I agree, yes, the parents do. But if the parents don't, It's not on the society to just allow these rebel children to go out there and be menaces to us over and over and over again. All right, yes, as a parent, that is your role. You are supposed to do that. But if you're failing, the police are supposed to make sure that your failure doesn't affect me. It's unfortunate that you failed, but I don't want your failure to be locking my neck and thieving my car and robbing me. That is not what we want. And that's where the police come in. So as important as the parenting is, the police are a stopgap measure in case it fails. And we need that to me. That's key. Be an example, sharing his own experiences. Guevara recalled being 9 years old and walking 5 kilometers to school each day after his unemployed mother chose to send him to a better school to give him a chance at success. He also recounted a moment at a career guidance day in which he was asked what he wanted to be when he grew up. "I want to be the police commissioner," he stated. Well, good for you, Mr. Guevara. Good for you. And I really do hope success. I hope and pray success. I hope that the school violence, as you say, does not happen under your tenure. And I do think that the police have a role to play, and I believe I read an article today, was it, or recently, where they were saying that the ministry, the government, and the police are looking and they are in discussions on ways to solve some of these school violence issues. And I do think the police have a role to play. I do think the police have a role to play. The reality is, if there are 100,000 school students in Trinidad and Tobago, it may be barely 1,000, if so many, probably barely 400 students are causing the vast majority of the problems. And that's not a hard problem to tackle. It may be tricky to deal with the publicity of tackling a problem like that, but 400 troublemakers out of 100,000 students is not a very hard problem to solve. Speaking of some of these troublemakers, 5 students suspended after brutal attack outside Holy Faith Convent. 5 students involved in the brutal assault on a Holy Faith Convent student in front of the school gates in Couva on June 10th have been suspended. The Ministry of Education confirmed this yesterday, underscoring the acts of school violence are being taken seriously. The release stated the ministry reiterates that it views all acts of violence, particularly those involving students, with the utmost seriousness. In close collaboration with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and relevant school authorities, immediate steps have been taken to address the incident. The ministry further stated that investigations were initiated promptly and the students involved are currently being engaged through appropriate disciplinary channels. As of today, 5 students have faced suspension, while extended suspensions have been requested in keeping with established protocols. The ministry added that further investigations by the community police are continuing. In addition, the ministry has activated its student support mechanisms. The Student Support Services Division has been deployed to provide counseling and psychosocial support to the affected students and the wider school community. This ensures that any emotional or psychological impact is adequately addressed. Police said on Monday that the students involved in the fight, who are from 3 other schools, could not be located at the addresses provided to them. Contacted last evening, an officer said no arrests have been made as yet, but investigations are continuing. I find that suspect. I find something is wrong in that whole setup that they just gave us there. How you mean the police saying they can't find these students at the addresses provided? To me, that raises several very problematic questions. These are active students registered in school, are you saying the addresses that these students have in school officially are incorrect? Are these students registered with addresses that are not their actual homes? So we have no real home contact with these children. I think that would be problematic in and of itself. And then there seems to be some kind of discrepancy going on here. The police sound like they can't get into contact with these children and their parents. They can't find them, apparently. But how then the school has suspended them for has suspended these 5 students already? And the ministry said the students are being engaged through disciplinary channels. How could the ministry be engaging the students that the police apparently can't find? Good night, Alpha. How you mean the police can't find them? And for me personally, I think within the school walls dealing with disciplinary issues are for petty school fights. Intra-school, not intra, yes, intra-school. The suspension and calling your parents and the school send a letter home. That's for when you fight with the class prefect. You and the class prefect had a little scrap. You know, they catch you kissing your boyfriend in school. That kind of thing is suspension and talk to your parents and all of that. Changing your uniform and going as a gang to assault, and if you're in a strict district, they may even consider that attempted murder. Another student from another school. I think that's a step outside of just deal with it amongst the school. I think somebody needs to face legal consequences. I would like things like that. It's either, if this child is on their own, well, hard luck, you got to face those consequences, or whoever the parent is responsible for this child. Who were the parents? Who were the people that bought the clothes that these girls wore when they beat up the other girl? Should parents be responsible for children's actions? 100%. I've said this before in the live. It's something so strange to me. If you have a pit bull, yes, the convent incident is what we're speaking directly about, but it's general to that. If you have a pit bull, if you have a dog, and you leave your gate open, your dog runs out the road and bites somebody's child and maul them and end them up in the hospital, who is held responsible for that? The person in charge of the dog. And a dog is a dumb animal. You mean your whole child that you are supposedly training from the point they're born damages mine and you're not responsible? Listen, if your car bunks my car, you're responsible. Alpha says, but if the parents say them don't listen, let them feel, then what? To me, the parents need to say that before. The example of the dog. Well, if you let your dog listen Trinidad music, that's your problem. But my child can't just go and find Trinidad music any and everywhere. That's up to you. And I think the responsibility needs to be placed on the parent. They find it in school, well then take them out of that school. That's the level of responsibility I think the parents need. Who else is responsible for the child? Who else? If your child cannot listen the dances he hear in school and not let that affect what he does, then you need to pay attention enough to remove him from his dance friends' company. You need to be able to remove him from that. You are the one ultimately in charge. And I think it should be that way. Yes, your dog maybe catch a mad vaps and that is why he jump your wall and he bite up somebody. He never do that before, but it's still your responsibility. The car had a mechanical fault, something went wrong, your brakes didn't work too good. But if you run into the back of the other man's car, you have to pay for it. And if your child is so outside of your control, it should never be that we only now finding out this child is out of your control when they do something. If you cannot control your child, call police and MindFULL one time. Call police and MindFULL for them one time. Like, I could excuse a parent if they said, well, I call police for he every day this week and the police ain't doing nothing. And then the boy did something. Well, then it's not on the parent anymore. The parent did their duty. They attempted to report the child that was out of their control. But it could never be that you feeding this little gremlin, allowing this little gremlin to sleep in your house, kissing them every day, having somebody plait their hair, buying clothes for them, and then this gremlin out here pesting everybody outside, and it's not your fault. No! You are the owner of the gremlin. If it's your gremlin, you pay the price for what your gremlin does. I find that should be very simple. That should be very simple and straightforward. Very simple and straightforward. You know, it's funny. In sports, if you're in a sports club and you beat up your wife in a sports club, sometimes they want to hold the club responsible for you beating up your wife. But a child shouldn't be the responsibility of the parent. Well, the grander scope of the schooling system needs to be peer reviewed and new procedures needed. I don't think so. I think, you see, the idea of the peer review and scientific study is how we end up in some of these problems in the first place. It's a simple thing. It's not that the schooling system needs to be peer reviewed per se. It's that each parent needs to understand that their child is their responsibility primarily. The idea that there is something we could all do, some magic formula that we could put into the school system, some magic type of schooling that we can create and craft, where we could throw our children out at the age of 3, throw them into the system, and magically at 21 the system returns them to us and they're all perfect. That's not how it goes. And there's no system that's going to do that for you. And it's what many people want out of the system. It's what many people wish for. Let's look at another story in that line. Let's look at another story coming out of UWI. UWI opens after-school childcare program for staff. Rededicating the university's former evening university building, UWI opened its child learning and discovery facility in an effort to support working parents and foster early childhood development. Coming at a subsidized cost, Principal Professor Rosemary Bellantwine said the facilities will be cutting edge, providing a secure environment for enhanced childcare and high-quality learning for the children of campus employees. delivered by trained professionals. And this is something that people ask for all over the world. You know, part of the problem that they cited during the COVID pandemic is that lots of women left the workforce. And the problem with that, as the economists and those that look for the progress of society and the GDP numbers to keep climbing, the problem with that, they say the GDP numbers are dropping. The earnings are dropping. We need mothers back in the workforce. How do we get the mothers back in the workforce? Well, we do something revolutionary. So we could get mothers to leave the home at the age of 5 and 4 when the children enter preschool and then enter primary school. They could leave the home and return to the workforce because we have a babysitting institution for them. The problem is before that time. It's hard to get women to leave the home as soon as they make their babies. So how do we get women to leave the home just as they make their babies? Well, we provide early childhood care for those women. So we get institutions to look after all of these children and have mommy leave the home and go and work somewhere to make money to pay somebody else to mind her child and train her child. These are the peer-reviewed ideas, Diablo, that we come up with. These are the peer-reviewed ideas that we come up with. And here's the thing, reviewing data and implementing strategies. Almost all the time with a lot of those studies, it's why I said before that the reason I hate a lot of the soft sciences, because of how they attempt to use those studies, and many of these studies aren't actually accurate. And then the problem with it sometimes is that they may see a benefit in one small area of society and attempt to extrapolate that over the entirety of society. And let me ask you, what do you think is going to happen if we decrease the amount of time that a child spends with their mother in the first 5 years of their life? Do you think that's going to have a positive or negative effect on childhood development? Like, just in a vacuum, if we decrease the amount of time that a child spends with their mother in the first 5 years of life, do you think that would have a positive or negative effect? By and large. And that's what we're going to do. These are the solutions that we find. So instead of parent, we're attempting to find societal solutions. It's society's fault, so all of society has to come together to find a solution for you minding the child that you made. And you know, I've heard the argument from some people that they say the decreasing birth rate that all of us in the Western world and in the developed world are looking at, the decreased birth rate. These are things that we could do to solve some of those issues. If we have that early childhood care, then parents don't have to worry about what to do with their child. So then they could have children. But the reality is, the reason many people aren't having children is because of the work life. And if you make it easier for people to get more engrossed in their work life, I don't think they're going to have more children. We need real thinkers because our parliament debating laptops for school, not conversations like this. In our case, I think one of the quickest things we could do is return to somewhat of the idea of the 90s and before. The junior sex, senior sex, serve all life center, the stratification of our schooling system. There needs to be separation. All students aren't the same. All students won't function ideally mixed in a general group. We need that stratification, I think. You want the extremely well-performing students to be among each other to continue driving each other in that direction. The children who are challenged among each other, so you could have people to help them with their challenges. We need that stratification. Morning shift used to war the evening shift in my day. Well, here's the thing, and it could sound a kind of way, but it's a reality. If all the fights were relegated back again to the junior sex and some in the senior sex, at least we know where to focus some of the manpower and deliberation. But if you mix the elements, and now every school has a bit of that, it's no longer just morning shift and evening shift, so you know where to concentrate. Hi. What you do now? You want to tell the people hi too? This is the new co-host. Watch the people. Tell the people hi. Hi. Say hi, people. Say hi, folks. Two co-hosts now, bye. But I agree with you, the reality is not everyone can be doctors and lawyers. Schools need to be career focused. I agree, you need to stratify the thing. And the idea that some children need to go into other directions, I think it's an obvious thing. I think you need to go to sleep. Tell the people later, say bye, folks. Tell them bye-bye. Twins, yeah, boy. The gene's powerful, the gene pool proper. Fully endorse it, people. 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100. One of the best things you're ever gonna do, make those babies. Oh, Drea. Yeah. And I don't really want, like, I made children because I want my children. Like the idea of giving my child or my children off to somebody else for 90% of the time, it seems ridiculous to me. What's the point of evaluating your significant other, your spouse, the person you're going to make children with, if it's not even them you're going to raise the child with? Best you evaluate the nanny and the early childhood worker and make the child with them and done. I mean. Anyway, let's get back to some national security news. Homeland Security Minister, Homeland Security, the Ministry of Homeland Security still doesn't feel natural to me. It still feels awkward in my mouth. It might wear in after a time, but it still feels awkward on Minister of Homeland Security. It feels kind of like a make-up ministry. I mean, yes, I know all the ministries are made up, but it feels kind of like somebody, like children playing a game now. Like, it's not a serious thing, but the man is serious. Yeah? I'm not saying he's unserious for some way. While Police Commissioner Alistair Guevara wants to bolster public confidence in the TTPS, something that can be achieved with the use of body cameras, Homeland Security Minister Roger Alexander says he prefers that officers get bulletproof vests over the devices. Alexander was speaking with reporters following the historic handover of the TTPS leadership. The event featured a performance 2 days before. Alexander told the Standing Finance Committee that government needed 25 million in supplemental income for the TTPS to fund 3,000 body cameras as part of the higher figure of 119 million for the service. Despite this approval, Alexander yesterday said, "My thing would have been to encourage bulletproof vests before body cams, and I'll tell you why. We need to protect the officer in the line of duty, and he must feel that he is being supported and protected before he is able to go out there and really perform his duty." What you all think? Do you think in priorities, if it was something where it's either or, do you think it's more necessary for Trinidad and Tobago to get a new stock of bulletproof vests for police officers, or do you think it more key to get body cameras? And you know, I find it curious that our Minister of Homeland Security coming in, this statement basically is an identifier. He's basically letting people know if there are sides, if there's a side between the public and the police, I am on the police side. And I think that's a wrong position, because he's a civilian minister. He is supposed to represent the general public. He is not a police union representative amongst the government. He is an elected member of parliament appointed by the civilian government to be in charge of the ministerial portfolio. He is speaking to an HSE issue, bro, health and safety issue. Here's the thing. I don't deny it, Zedrid. I don't deny that's what he's speaking to. But it makes a point. It makes a point. How many police officers in the last 10 years were murdered in the line of duty where a bulletproof vest would have been a solution to that? I honestly don't know the number. I think it's very small, if any. While, converse to that, how many police interactions were there where camera footage of the incident would have been crucial to explaining what actually went on? And if indeed there is a health and safety issue with the bulletproof vest, the point he is making is not just that there's a health and safety issue with the bulletproof vest, but he puts that at a higher priority level than societal transparency. Now, to the credit of the government, of the cabinet in general, they are still going with the cameras over the vest. At least first. So it seems like it's not just his view that is being taken there. But he's basically saying if it was up to him, that camera thing dead. And in terms of procurement, why can't we have both? I don't know. But in terms of procurement, technically speaking, there would always be limitations. There would always be things that you would want that you have to decide, all right, we could get X, Y, Z, but we can't get 1, 2, 3. We could get a limited number of things. Yes, he will, because a dead officer cannot make a camera function. But police with a bulletproof vest and no camera could kill an innocent civilian and get away with it. So each way has a fault. And is there an issue where police are being shot regularly and the bulletproof vests are failing? Is that an issue? Like, I'm not saying I want police to be hurt on the job, of course not. But if you're talking priorities here, I don't think the vests are a priority. Okay, let me ask you a question. Ask away. Well, I understand that, but body cams is more important right now because there are bulletproof vests. There are. But apparently there aren't any body cameras. And if we are to look at the United States as an example, the body cameras over in the United States actually over time, looking at it as a long-term something, the body cameras actually tilted things in the police favor more. Because what the body cameras show is that indeed a lot of the police interactions, they're interacting with some true nutcases. So the body camera isn't necessarily something that would work against the police in the long run. Which one would you understand? An officer declining to respond to an intruder in your home because of lack of vest or camera? Neither, to be honest with you. Because an intruder in my home shouldn't have only one officer responding. And I would hope the nature of your job is that regardless of a vest or not, you would respond to a problem. Are you saying that uniformed officers, if they don't have a vest, have a right to run away from incidences? Yes. Okay. All right. Uniformed police, if they don't have a vest, have a right to run away from incidences. Okay. And you know, officers and supporters of officers, who are most often officers themselves, are shocked to know that the general public just short of hates them. They're shocked to notice that. But then they basically announce to the general public, we are a gang that is seeking our own interest. Your interest is secondary. If by chance in seeking our own interest you get a little help, you're lucky. While we pay these people to do that job, We pay these people to do that job, But this is how they regard us. Forget about earlier. Yes, user, yes. Forget about earlier. Salt. We want bulletproof vests. Forget about that camera business. Let us do as we please. You don't have a right to see anything. You don't have a right to know. To do it with the resources needed to carry out the act safely. And then when they get bulletproof vests, they would say they need tactical helmets. When they get the tactical helmets, they would say they need air pads. And when they get the air pads, they would say they need the knee pads. When they get the knee pads, they would say they need armored vehicles, armored personnel carriers, APCs out there. There's no upward limit to the amount of safety you could get. There's no upward limit to the amount of safety you could get. All we want is cameras to know that you're being honest. That's what we want. But all of a sudden, when cameras come up, you recognize, oh no, actually we need vests more than cameras, eh? We need vests. I am not against the police getting vests, you know. I am speaking about our present state in Trinidad and Tobago. Are police being shot and murdered because of bad vests? Name the last time that happened, Z-Grade. When was the last time a police was murdered because of a bad vest in Trinidad and Tobago? Did it ever happen? One time. Name the time. Conversely, when was the last time there was a police interaction where there was significant suspicion of the police behavior and we can't know because there was no camera? Which one happens more? And if you're a police service, the officer who got shot while the other officer cleaning his gun. If you're a police service, unless you want to be an occupying force, you need to work with the approval of the community. As a police service, do you want to make yourself impenetrable to the bullets that you aren't even facing? Or would you prefer increase the trust with the public? There were instances, I'm personally aware of officers being shot at, but vests saved them. I'm not asking about incidences where vests saved them. If the vests saved them, then you're telling me we have good enough vests. Are there incidences where police was hurt because of a bad vest? And if that's not the case, you're telling me that you're willing to sacrifice public trust for something that has never occurred as a problem, just for the potential that it might occur as a problem. You're willing to sacrifice public trust for that instead. Does that make sense to you, Z-Grade? Like, when you think about that, if you were the ultimate decision maker of the police service, that's the direction you would go? Tell the public, we don't care about you trusting us, we are looking to militarize ourselves better. How is that going to work? It's safer to increase your public trust than to get more bulletproof vests. Decreasing your public trust is going to make those bulletproof vests pointless because the public themselves will set you up for the kill. What the TTPS needs is to build trust. Bulletproof vests, not building trust. This is not to say I don't want the police protected. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying I want the police to be vulnerable and easy targets. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking specifically about what our Homeland Security Minister said in terms of the present situation in Trinidad and Tobago, and saying that you would prefer the money to go towards bulletproof vests than towards body cameras right now. I don't see how that's a justifiable statement. And I think what that really is signaling to the police service that, don't worry, I am still team batch. I ain't going over to the next side. I'm still on team batch. That's what I think that was signaling. Signaling to the officers, you know, the thin blue line still runs here. That's where I stand. And it's a problem that I regularly point out with the police service. And I understand the need for it. The need for that camaraderie and loyalty and checking for each other, as it were, that is necessary in the nature of a police job. But it creates that gang problem at the same time. Makes it hard when changes may be necessary. How you mean, to be honest, the police love the fact a man like Alexander in that post? I wouldn't doubt that they do. I would not doubt that they indeed do. Especially if, as I said, it is a signal of his loyalty. If that's the case, of course they would love him in that post. But nonetheless, even though he signaled that he would have preferred the bulletproof vest, the cameras are still in gear to come. That is still the present plan. Not the bulletproof vest, but cameras. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Interesting political. Judge knocks Munilal for absence from hearing. The incoming Estate Management and Business Development Company Limited board will have the final say on the fate of its ongoing multi-million-dollar cartel lawsuit against a group of contractors, former EMBD officials, and former Housing Minister and current Energy Minister Dr. Rudal Munilal. The yet-to-be-appointed board's role in the controversial case, initiated under the People's National Movement administration, arose yesterday during the first case management conference before High Court Judge Frank C. Prasad. EMBD lawyer Andrew Hunter, King's Counsel, said the new board will have to make several decisions on the case, including approving court filings and the costs associated with expert witnesses. Case drops just now, Sparky says. Well, when the UNC win, everybody wins, including the Dr. Munilal and his alleged co-conspirators. Everybody wins. I don't see the UNC carrying on this case. They have yet to appoint an EMBD board. And when approached for comment, they haven't made comment on that yet. I would not be surprised if the way this goes is just nobody ever comments on it. Nobody ever comments on it. The board never responds to anything, and nobody ever comments on anything. The case is a waste of monies, Sparky says. Sparky, I hope you maintain that same view if and when your favored government starts running their own wild goose chases on the past government. Because do you think that the present administration isn't going to attempt to go after the former? The waste of monies? The case being a waste of monies. All right. Interesting. Interesting. Things like this allow me to recognize that many people don't actually care about corruption. A lot of people don't really care about corruption and bad governance. And it's kind of all team sports for them. It's like Real Madrid and Barcelona. They chose their team and they want their team to win. They don't care if the team win on a last minute penalty or if a man dive and fake to get the goal. And they don't care. Once their team wins, it's not really, they make it seem like they like Real Madrid because of the kind of knock that Real Madrid have, you know, the kind of true ball Real Madrid is. I prefer that, but really and truly another team could play the same game and it's not what they like it because it's a team sport. They like it because it's a team sport. When they get in, they say it's our turn now. And corruption allegations are without merit. Who cares? But they wouldn't say so for the other. It's kind of sad. It's kind of unfortunate. And it's one of the problems with political systems and the party politics. You have the assumption in a democracy that what people are going to choose is based on the best options that they have. Not really. Not really. We are a tribal creature. And if people could tap into our tribalism, works magic for us. It works magic. Who cares? It's a waste of money to even look in that direction. Waste. What a waste. What a waste. What? It all hinges on POTUS' decision. The President of the United States. What hinges on his decision? No $1 million pension, PM's pension for young. Government to introduce legislation today. The government will introduce legislation in a move designed to deny former Prime Minister Stuart Young a prime ministerial pension for life. Young became entitled to the pension when he lost the general election. The Prime Minister's Pension Act 2025 is listed on the House of Representatives order paper under the heading Introduction of Bills in the name of Finance Minister Devendranath Thakur. The Express understands that the Prime Minister's Pension Amendment Act 2025 will be tabled, but the debate will take place at another date. Priority will instead be given to the debate on the mid-year budget review, the Finance Supplementary Appropriation Financial Year 2025 bill, also in the name of the Finance Minister. And it's curious, eh? Look how quick they were able to bring a bill to remove Stewie from getting a little bonus that lasts his lifetime. How we reached the B-2 bombers and Iran and the POTUS, how we reach there? Sparky says pension is for the elderly, not the youngs. She right, Drea says, I agree. I agree, cut it. I have no problem with that. But it's interesting to me how quickly they could do that. But you know, they're really unsure about the legal ramifications of if they could reverse the Salary Reviews Commission report that increased their pay. Remember, all of the then opposition current government said that they disagree with that raise in pay. So why aren't they as quick, serious, and hot to trot about attempting to bring legislation to reverse that? I am sure that's possible. 100% certain that's possible. They have the majorities. Why don't they, you know? This is something that they really found problematic. And listen, I have no problem cutting the man from getting that money. I have no problem with that. Really and truly, I don't care. It doesn't bother me like that. I don't find anybody has an entitlement to the tax money like that. Fine, cut it. But it would have cost less to pay him his money than what it would cost for the increases for all the members of the current cabinet. I think it would cost less. Michael Modesto says, I believe Young will sue. And I think, personally, I don't know, but I think, reading many cases and the general way many of those cases go, I think if he does sue, he would have a very good claim. He would have a very good claim. Because it sure seems like very specific victimization. Like they wrote a law specifically to victimize him. I think he may have a good claim. I want to actually know why 3 billion addition is needed to pay outstanding debts. Also, why the IMF is in the state that it is in currently. Why the IMF is in what state that it is in. That's PNM love to sue. It's not only the PNM love to sue. The UNC is known for its lawyers. Weren't you following during the COVID time? You change the law just for him. That's wild. Yeah, it is. With world event or debt will increase. He has no claim, Sparky says. PNM more. I don't think so, Drea. I think the UNC has way more lawyers than the PNM on their side. And they are much more comfortable in the courts. So I don't think PNM more is an accurate statement. I mean, there are UNC activists who are known across the country for being just figureheads for lawsuits. There are a number of UNC activists that their job is to be the poster person for legal proceedings. And they constantly have legal proceedings going on. Constantly. I could think of at least two, that somehow these fellas always have freedom law chambers on speed dial and are suing the government for every move made. Well, they were suing the government for every move made. So I don't know if I'll attempt to say that it's more of a PNM thing than a UNC thing. I don't think that's true. I really don't think that's true. I think the PNM is trying to play catch up, and they've been trying to play catch up in the last 10 years in particular with the slander and defamation cases that they keep running in. But I don't think it's one like that. It's obviously not a PNM thing. More that's obvious. People need to stop lying. I think it's kind of obvious too. I would think people paying attention to the political landscape of Trinidad and Tobago would realize that by and large UNC has more of the lawyers. I don't think that's a controversial take. UNC has more of the lawyers. Young has a case. Let's wait and see. I look forward to us discussing it here. Yeah, I think he would have a case. It would be interesting to see. Very, very interesting to see how that would all shape up. Somebody was talking about the US. Let's look at our US story here that I actually agree with. US resumes visas for foreign students but demands access to social media accounts. So, if you want to go and study in the people country, this kind of debt to America and spelling America with 3 Ks out here, America, and all these white people, YT people thing, that all that talk that you want to jump in on X and Twitter and Facebook. I hope you don't want to go and study in the people country afterwards. And you know, I have no problem with that. I find that makes public sense. That makes obvious sense. If I am inviting you into my country, I would like to know the kind of person you are. Duh. American immigration, I find to be some of the most bold-faced in the world. Some of the most bold-faced in the world. Actually, I could imagine it because there are some Trini Venezuelan immigration activists that sometimes they try to get on our nerves sometimes with the bold-facedness. But I find it extremely bold-faced to go in people's country and then ring off in the people country and say, hate the people country not good for nothing. But you going in the people country, stay home. Why you going by the people? Confusing to me. I'm lost. I'm lost with that American immigration system. It's ridiculous to me. It is ridiculous. And the excuse that many people like, the US is a land of immigrants. This land belonged to the natives, and it originally belonged to Mexico. But as I always say, you aren't going there to experience the land that the natives had. Mikhail Modesto says they love the Venice here, but my co-worker vexed with Ian Allen because he says the Venice using. Diablo says correct, the information is out there for those who are willing to research it. But there are specific people. There are specific people who are on that very kind of trail. I don't think it's everybody, though. I don't think it's everybody issue. There are some people who are very enamored by our Latina neighbors. There are some men who are. I have no doubt about that. But still, I think we need to moderate that. Maybe we need to check Venezuelan social media accounts before they enter Trinidad too. Last story for the evening. Who are supported by President? Okay. Mikhail Modesto, what are you saying, sir? Last story for the evening. An Instagram arrangement leads to rape. Police are investigating two separate incidents of assault reported on Tuesday involving young women who alleged they were attacked at private residences in Barataria and Malabar. In the first case, a 23-year-old woman reported that she was assaulted around 12:30 p.m. after arranging via Instagram to get a tattoo from a man residing along Swami Avenue, Barataria. What? People make random meetups to let people inject ink into their skin permanently. I am confused by that one. I am legitimately confused by that one. Who does that? You're meeting up with a random stranger for them to give you a tattoo? According to police reports, while waiting in the gallery area of the suspect's home, the man allegedly grabbed her and forced her into a room where he proceeded to have non-consensual with her. The woman told officers that her screams were heard by someone outside who began knocking on the door. This reportedly caused the suspect to flee the scene in a black Toyota Corolla. The victim contacted police via the E99 command center and was later taken to the Barataria police station by a relative. His statement was recorded by PC Ramsey. The woman was medically examined at the El Socorro Health Center, and police later visited the scene with her and retrieved items of evidential value. An application for an evidential warrant has since been made. Come on, sistrins, sisters, my beloved. You don't go to buy cars in East Port of Spain and Barataria and San Juan randomly. There aren't any cars for sale at the side of the road in those parts. Sorry, no. For the sassy men out there, fellas, there's no sass to get on Nelson Street and George. Well, actually there might be, but leave that for the people who are familiar with those parts. You don't leave your good Kunupi at home to go and look for sass in East Port of Spain. It's a bad idea. And sisters, you can't be going for a tattoo by a random stranger in Barataria. How do you reach the point of trusting somebody to that level? Real sass and the Nelson, eh? Mikhail Modesto says they like how the risk does make that. I'd have to assume that because I am at a loss. I am at a loss. I would have thought that is a most straightforward lock off, not go into a situation kind of thing for a woman. Like, you just meet somebody on Instagram and meet up with them by their home to go and take out a random tattoo. You know what? Give me a chance, give me a chance. People, I am out. That's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, and entertained. I am Nathan Springer. This has been The Mindful Life. It's brought to you every time by Mindful Education, the educational institution that I run. We are teachers in these parts. We teach. So if you're looking to get your children out of the school system, contact us. We do homeschooling, full-time, part-time, most subjects for CXC and CAPE. We also do full-time and part-time for primary school. We also even offer early childhood courses, kindergarten, starting off learning, starting off reading, starting off writing with your numbers. We specialize in all of those things. If you are interested, contact us. Mindful Education, contact me wherever you see me and I'll hit you those. Until next time, people, hold it on. Stay good, stay well, stay inside, outside sketchy. Find somebody good child. Set the thing up right. Make them your legal spouse. Make the babies. We need more Trini babies out there. And as I always say, don't give them the tab. I want to hear I does. We need more little children saying I does. We need more. We need them to understand the Trini lingo. Let's not let the Trini lingo die. We don't let the Trini lingo die. Make them Trini babies. Pampers expensive, Nathan? Not really, not really. It isn't that expensive. And really and truly, you don't need Pampers. There are cloth diapers out there, and it might be actually healthier for the baby. And in modern times, you could actually buy the reusable clothes. You forget baby milk too. What do you mean I forget baby milk? God didn't forget baby milk. Mommy makes it in 2 glands on her chest. Two glands. They produce all the milk your baby needs, really and truly. So, who is buying what God gave us for free? Who's doing that? Who like them? We like them firm, not like bygone. Listen, Sparky. The purpose of those 2 glands wasn't just for your enjoyment. You could enjoy, but I know the purpose. The purpose is to feed baby. Behave yourself. That is the purpose. And if we are to be raw and honest here, even after feeding a baby, if one remains in shape, fellas are still going to like fellas, let we be real now. Fellas, let we be real. You know the use isn't deterring you from appreciating them. You know that. Let's be real. You are very well aware. I try not to go, too blatant out here. Trying to remain PG for the people. But, fellas, we know. Sharing with our child is not too much of an issue. Like those mama guy people, you wouldn't mind. So don't rob the children of their nutrition. You don't need to buy milk. God gave you that for free. Just eat properly. Make sure mommy eating properly, and the baby will be well fed. Go get some vervain leaves. Don't worry, right outside. You know what I like? Outside the Mount Hope Maternity Hospital, have a whole big patch of vervain growing. If you don't know what vervain is, When you reach that time, you go find out. It's a plant. It's a plant. So yeah, milk is not a problem. Buy the reusable cloth diapers. What are you worried about? Make the babies. Your ancestors made your ancestors crawling through the wilderness, and they were making 10 at a time and thing. Don't shame your ancestors talking about the price of diapers and the price of milk deterring you from having a 1-2 child out there. Nah, man. Nah, man. According to how long you believe this earth to have been in existence, you are the result of an uninterrupted, successful line of reproduction that has been ongoing for thousands of years. If you're a late earth evolutionary believer, it could be into the hundreds of millions, well, sexual reproduction, tens of millions of years. Successful reproduction. Imagine if you will, 100 million years of successful reproduction produces you. And among your entire genetic line, you are the one failure. Ah! I have 2. I good. You need 2.1 is replacement. 2 isn't really replacement. You need a 0.1 to replace. But yeah, all these years of successful reproduction, for you to be the first failure, your ancestors would be ashamed. The struggles your ancestors went through to make sure to keep the line going, and you're the one to end it. Don't be the one to end it. Go make somebody child happy. Don't make nobody miserable out there. Make somebody child happy. Make the thing right. Make some Trini babies for we now. We need a good next generation out there. Don't leave the baby making for people who only want to make children like snakes and lay egg and leave the snake to crawl out and do as they please when they grow older. Gosh, we need some good Trinis out there. Make the good Trinis. Even in slavery they were reproducing exactly. If you are a descendant of a slave, that means even while lick sharing and work having to be done, somebody was doing other kind of work to make sure you here. Still make sure you here. Let's get it done, people. All right. I'm out. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. I am Nathan Springer. This has been The Mindful Life. Until next time, people, peace. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. We had to have a Thursday talk. We have to have a Thursday talk. People come in. Let we talk tomorrow. Let we debate. See what things go on. Belief is creation. Latest respect to you too. The licks those days was nice. Not now.